Two heads, one tail, yang yin. Two tails, one head, yang yang. Two tails, one head, yang yang. tails, one head, yin yang. Two tails, one head, yin yang. Two heads, one tail, yang yin. Alright, we'll jump in right away. Our bottom trigram is read as broken, solid, solid, or you could call it open, whole, whole. This is the trigram. Xun, wind or wood. Xun is both wind and living plants, whatever penetrates, spreads, and grows, shaping itself to the space available or shaping that space to its own nature. She is responsive flexibility, sensitively improvising and adapting. Like the wind, she can always find a way through because she never creates any resistance. And so her influence is subtle and gradual, but far-reaching. In the family of trigrams, Xun is the eldest daughter, gentle and submissive. She belongs to the southeast and to late spring and early summer. Our top or outer trigram will be read as solid, broken, broken, or whole, whole, open. This is the trigram. Zen thunder. Nope, sorry. Solid, solid, broken. Dewy, lake or marsh. Dewy is lake and marsh, abundant energy that teems with life. She is the impulse to communicate, share, and exchange, and delights in both inner and outer conversation. She brings things into circulation and gives them voice. This is the sheer enjoyment of participating in life to the full, expressing ourselves and hearing others and satisfying our desires. Lake is the youngest daughter, spirit of the fertile west and of autumn. Getting these out of Hilary Barrett's Walking Your Path, Creating Your Future, I-ming commentary. It's a nice introductory commentary. So, dewy lake or marsh above Xun, wind or wood gives us hexagram 28. The question we bring to the I Ching when we consult the oracle will always have the general context of how can we act in creative relation with the spirits or forces shaping this moment of time. We only got one hexagram, so that is highly emphasized. We'll be getting the title of it from I-ming's Taoist I-ming, which he wrote in 1796 as a Taoist adept. It's nice and alchemical in nature. Hexagram 28 is excess of the great, following desires, delighting in externals, inability to control strength. And we will start by reading from Hilary Barrett's I Ching, Walking Your Path, Creating Your Future. Hexagram 28. Great exceeding. Key questions. What is overloaded? What have you outgrown? What must you do? Oracle. Great exceeding. The ridgepole warps, fruitful to have a direction to go, creating success. When you exceed something, you cross over a line and make a transition. The traditional Chinese house has a structure like an old-fashioned tent. Uprights support a horizontal ridgepole, and all the weight of roof and walls is suspended from there. Here, the ridgepole's limits have been exceeded. The supporting framework is no longer adequate to the weight it's asked to bear. This means stress and also a greatness of spirit and purpose that goes beyond the scope of the situation. It is fruitful to have a direction to go, to reach out imaginatively and explore. Since things cannot hold up as they are, there must be movement. Image. The lake submerges the tree, great exceeding. A noble one stands alone without fear, withdraws from the time without sadness. Water should sustain the tree, but in excess will drown it. Interaction and communication should sustain you, but too much will be overwhelming, drowning the natural growth of your spirit in a flood of demands and expectations. You cannot possibly absorb all these demands and preoccupations into your own identity. You would only lose yourself. So a noble one is not afraid to stand alone, nor is she depressed at leaving society behind. She is moved by an inner purpose and not a product of her environment. Sequence. Great exceeding follows from Hexagram 27, nourishment. With no nurturance, it is not possible to act, and so great exceeding follows. Great exceeding is the opposite experience to nourishment. Imbalance instead of balance, overloading the structure instead of living within it. But to be capable of the dynamic action great exceeding requires, you need to be well nourished. We will next dive into I-ming's Taoist I Ching. As I said, he wrote it in 1796 as a Taoist adept, and it is very alchemical in nature. Hexagram 28. Excess of the great. When the great is excessive, the ridgepole bends. It is good to go somewhere. That is developmental. Explanation. Excess of the great means there is an excess of yang energy. As for the qualities of the hexagram, above is lake, joyous, and below is wind, entering. Going along with what is inside, delighting in externals, following what one desires. When happiness culminates, it produces grief. In the body of the hexagram, inside are 4 yangs and outside are 2 yins. Yang exceeds yin, and yin does not come up to yang. Therefore, it is called excess of the great. This hexagram represents harmonious blending of the medicinal substances in which fullness requires use of emptiness. It follows on the previous hexagram, nurturance of the great. In nurturance of the great, one is strong yet can stop and be still. Stilling strength, not letting yang energy get too excessive, is properly the means to nurture strength. In spiritual alchemy, the path of the gold elixir, we take 2 times 8 ounces of the polar energies and congeal them into an embryo. It requires that the great and small be undamaged and both realms be complete. If yang energy is too strong and yin energy too weak, then yin and yang are not in harmony, and you lose the path of continual renewal. When yin culminates, there will be decay, and when yang culminates, there will be deterioration. Going on in this way, the trouble of the ridgepole bending and breaking is inevitable. When the ridgepole snaps, the whole house falls down. In the same way, practitioners of the Tao who promote yang too much, who do not know when enough is enough, who can be great but cannot be small, suffer damage to their spiritual house. If you can proceed breezily without becoming too intense, being harmonious and easygoing without clinging, mastering the ability to adapt to changes, preventing danger and being aware of perils, then firmness and flexibility will correspond. Yin and yang will balance each other. Though great, you can avoid excess so that it is beneficial to go somewhere. Consummating essence and perfecting life, you develop without hindrance. We'll also read the commentary section on Hexagram 28. That part was the text section. Great excess, lake above, wind below. Moisture destroys wood in excess. Thus, superior people stand alone without fear and leave society without distress. Great excess is excess of the great. Above is lake, associated with moisture. Below is wind, associated with wood. The nature of water is to flow downward. The nature of wood is to float upward. When water rises above wood, it can destroy wood. And when wood descends below water, it can be destroyed by the moisture. This is the image of great excess. What superior people see in this is that just as a great excess of moisture can destroy wood, so can a great excess of talent and intelligence in people destroy their character. Therefore, they take the model of water rising above wood in the sense of standing alone without fear, and take the model of wood descending below water in the sense of concealing themselves and being free from distress. Thus they accomplish the will of a person of exceeding greatness and perfect the character of a person of exceeding greatness. Because superior people who practice the Tao consider nature and life to be the most important matter, they look down upon all existence as empty of absoluteness, being like a clear lake unsullied by the dust of objects. They make use of the phenomena of the world to practice the principles of the Tao, playing a unique tune on an individual harp. Unmoved by the prospects of life or death, they stand aloof of all things without fear. Like the flexibility of wood, they have talent, but do not presume upon it. They have intelligence, but do not rely on it. Though simple in appearance, they hold a treasure. Concealing their illumination and nurturing it in obscurity, they do not seek to be known to others. They are hidden in a profound privacy and have no distress. Having no fear means that one cannot be constrained by things. Having will and energy far beyond that of others. Having no distress means that errant thoughts do not arise, and one has cultivated development far beyond that of others. Because of having no fear and no distress, one can accomplish that which is rare in the world, and be beyond the perception and beyond the reach of ordinary people. We will now take a look at what James Dekorne says about Hexagram 28. He is a practitioner of the Tao himself. He's created a synthesis of I-ming commentaries in one helpful place, and I've left a link to his site, Gnostic Book of Changes. Well, it's a PDF on the site in the description box below. He calls Hexagram 28 critical mass. Other titles might be Preponderance of the Great, the symbol of great passing, excess, great excess, the passing of greatness, great surpassing, great gains, experience, greater than great, greatness in excess, dominance by the mighty, the passing of greatness, excess of the great, law of karma, judgment, leg. Critical mass depicts a weak beam. Under such conditions, it is advantageous to move in any direction whatever. Success is indicated. Blowfold, excess. The ridgepole sags. It is favorable to have some goal or destination in view. Success. A glance at the hexagram will show that it is too heavy in the middle and too weak at the ends. A number of firm lines is generally auspicious, but there can be too much of a good thing. Ritsima/Karcher, grade exceeding, the ridgepole sagging, harvesting, possessing, directed going, growing. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of your connection to a ruling principle. It emphasizes that pushing the guiding idea beyond ordinary limits and accepting the results is the adequate way to handle it. Cleary 1. When the great is excessive, the ridgepole bends. It is good to go somewhere that is developmental. When the ridgepole snaps, the whole house falls down. In the same way, practitioners of the Tao who promote yang too much, who do not know when enough is enough, who can be great but cannot be small, suffer damage to their spiritual house. The image, leg. The image of trees beneath a marsh forms critical mass. The superior man, in accordance with this, fearlessly stands alone and stays retired from the world without regret. Wilhelm/Baines. The lake rises above the trees, the image of preponderance of the great. Thus, the superior man, when he stands alone, is unconcerned, and if he has to renounce the world, he is undaunted. Blowfold. This hexagram symbolizes a forest submerged in a great body of water. The superior man, though standing alone, is free from fear. He feels no discontent in withdrawing from the world. This is suggested by the component trigrams. Water is necessary for the nourishment of trees, but too much of it can cause serious damage. Cleary 2. Moisture destroys wood, developed people, etc. Only when sustained by the power to stand alone without fear and avoid society without distress can learning be firmly rooted and development have a proper basis. Then it is possible to refine and support the mediocre. Confucian commentary, Confucius/Leg. Excess is weakly supported at either end, with weakness in both the lowest and topmost lines. The dynamic lines are in excess, but two of them are in the central positions. The trigrams of flexibility and satisfaction indicate that there will be advantage in moving in any direction whatever. There will be success. Great indeed is the work to be done during this extraordinary time. Leg. Extraordinary times require extraordinary skill in their management. The figure shows two magnetic lines at top and bottom with four dynamic lines between them, giving the image of a great beam unable to sustain its own weight. Lines 2 and 5 are both dynamic and central, however, and from this and the attributes of the component trigrams, a good auspice is obtained. Notes and paraphrases, judgment. A stressful situation is best managed with a comprehensive strategy, or, in the chess game of life, one succeeds by planning several moves in advance. The superior man serves the work by going his own way, regardless of public opinion. Wilhelm titles this hexagram Preponderance of the Great. I prefer R.L. Wing's paraphrase of critical mass as more evocative of the figure's meaning in modern terminology. In critical mass, 4 dynamic lines lurk inside of the hexagram, weakly contained at top and bottom by 2 magnetic lines. This energetic concentration could explode in an unpredictable release of force, and hence the judgment tells us to move now. Remember, non-action is also action, to avoid unwanted consequences. Often the outcome is predictable, but be prepared to just walk away if and when that is your best move. Legg's translation of the judgment is, it is advantageous to move in any direction whatever. This is a different message than Wilhelm's. It furthers one to have somewhere to go. Legg's version implies an almost hysterical flight from danger, while Wilhelm's rendition suggests prior intention and planning. The latter interpretation is definitely what is meant here, as confirmed by Cleary's Buddhist commentary. When the transformative path is flourishing, contaminations easily arise. It is best to set up guidelines and regulations. When meditation work is advanced, ignorance is about to dissolve. It is best to exercise the mind skillfully. Coupled with Cleary's translation of the image as developed people stand alone, without fear, avoid society without distress, the idea is that one should follow one's best intuition and ignore popular illusions, political correctness, or inner fears. Psychologically, conventional thinking, socially conditioned reflexes, knee-jerk responses, etc. During a time of critical mass, pay close attention to direction from the self to preserve the work. This is not the time to follow the crowd. Sometimes this can mean that you are obliged to go it alone, one of the work's frequent tests. A quote from G. Knight in A Practical Guide to Kabbalistic Symbolism. The gulf is something that has to be leaped, and leaped alone, stripped of all hindering burdens in faith. It is thus one of the crisis points of spiritual progress because of the great temptation to turn back from the unknown to the apparent safety of known things, and to succumb to this temptation is to lose all the fruits of past endeavor. Suggestions for meditation. Compare the judgment and image of this hexagram with those of hexagram number 32, consistency. And Anthony, we must regain modesty through the effort to rid ourselves of strong elements that cause us to press forward. The strong elements may exist in someone else, causing them to assault us with their fear, mistrust, or doubt. Strong refers to impetuous movement to resolve what is ambiguous. We can meet the challenge by remaining detached and letting things go through their changes. To be truly rich is to remain modest. To be truly powerful is to remain reticent. We will now get a randomly card-drawn chapter from the Tao Te Ching to close things off. Our hexagram today, 28, excess of the great, shows moisture above wood, a lake above wind or wood, the 2 trigrams, and it shows that the ridgepole is about to snap. This indicates that it is advantageous to move somewhere because staying in the same place doesn't work. You'll get crushed by a house, it sounds like. And we got 3 chapters from the Tao Te Ching. We will read. But I do want to read this section to sum things up. I liked. Where was it? I think it was in the Confucian commentary. Leg. Extraordinary times require extraordinary skill in their management. The figure shows 2 magnetic lines at top and bottom, with 4 dynamic lines in between them, giving the image of a great beam unable to sustain its own weight. Lines 2 and 5 are both dynamic and central, however, and from this and the attributes of the component trigrams, a good auspice is obtained. And Cleary, too, in the image says, only when sustained by the power to stand alone without fear and avoid society without distress can learning be firmly rooted and development have a proper basis. Then it is possible to refine and support the mediocre. I don't know why I keep thinking there was one that I preferred that I haven't read yet. Anywho, it had to do, I liked it because it had to do with meditation. Let me look for keywords meditation real quick. Bummer. Maybe it was in the notes and paraphrases. Whatever. Let's read these. Chapter from the Tao Te Ching. My translation is from Jia Fufang and in English. We will read chapters 74, 1, and 20. '74 of the Tao Te Ching. If men are not afraid to die, it is of no avail to threaten them with death. If men live in constant fear of dying, and if breaking the law means that a man will be killed, who will dare to break the law? There is always an official executioner. If you try to take his place, it is like trying to be a master carpenter and cutting wood. If you try to cut wood like a master carpenter, you will only hurt your hand. Chapter 1 of the Tao Te Ching. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. The nameless is the beginning of heaven and earth. The named is the mother of 10,000 things. Even desireless, one can see the mystery. No, ever desireless, one can see the mystery. Ever desiring, one can see the manifestations. These two spring from the same source but differ in name. This appears as darkness. Darkness within darkness, the gate to all mystery. And 20. We will get there. Here we go. Give up learning and put an end to your troubles. Is there a difference between yes and no? Is there a difference between good and evil? Must I fear what others fear? What nonsense. Other people are contented, enjoying the sacrificial feast of the ox. In spring, some go to the park and climb the terrace, but I alone am drifting, not knowing where I am. Like a newborn babe before it learns to smile, I am alone, without a place to go. Others have more than they need, but I alone have nothing. I am a fool. Oh yes, I'm confused. Other men are clear and bright, but I alone am dim and weak. Other men are sharp and clever, but I alone am dull and stupid. Oh, I drift like the waves of the sea, without direction, like the restless wind. Everyone else is busy, but I alone am aimless and depressed. I am different. I am nourished by the Great Mother.